Hello, dear friends. Today, we are on December 5th, Thursday, and the topic that I want to offer you today, I think that this is one of the most important of those, which I have offered you over the past a few months, maybe the most important, because understanding this topic will allow you to understand what is happening in the United States, who really came to authorities who will govern this country for at least the next 4 years. And this will affect literally everyone, because the ambitions of this group of people, they spread far and wide throughout the world. The topic is complex and includes philosophical aspects, because at the core of each political movement, whether you want it or not, the parties are lying around some political, philosophical views. So I searched for materials for a long time, found acceptable for the disclosure of this topic. Some, again, they are complicated. I try to simplify them as much as possible for understanding of the broad audience, and after I tell, but it's incredibly interesting in any case for me, because now I see a real perspective for this. Article's example of how you can get intelligence information from open sources. I'm sure there are sources on this topic, which we will now consider. I will tell it to you. I'll tell you how the best intelligence services in the world fight. And then when I outline the content briefly, I will break this down into these articles and lay it out. Shells, as they say, point by point. Well, let's get started. So, I based it on an article from Publications Mod, French edition, which is called How American Tech Rights Came to Power. The article was published on November 15th, quite recently. Well, in general, she is absolutely up to date. Speaks like, it is said that the following story follows from it. This is actually an investigation, which was conducted by this respected publication. Don't write me anything stupid, or a wire or something else. One of the most respected publications in the world, for sane people, for intellectuals. And that's why I recommend it this way. Treat, and so investigation results. The role of several billionaires from Silicon or Silicon Valley in re-election of Donald Trump to the post president, USA, and first of all among these, Elon Musk's billionaires emphasize the influence of the new ideological movement in America, uniting libertarian utopias and conservative values. Few people from the team that brought Trump came to power in the last elections. There is something to celebrate, like Elon Musk. Less than a week after November 5th, on Election Day, his fortune grew by $70 billion. Is a monstrous profit from investments in election campaign. Trump, which have already proven to be excessive. Musk invested in the election campaign. Trump campaign, $120 million total. In a few months, but much more. He may have rendered an important service. Decisive Trump provided for him. Company's Twitter services, or X platform, that became a tool. Mass influence on the broadest layers. American voters who, in terms of coverage, it surpassed everything else. I mean, mainstream media, information taken together. These elections were the last ones they marked. A metamorphosis that happened with masks. In recent years, one could say the most active business activities before he extolled the dignity of his company. Tesla, in connection with his support with her. Support for LGBT rights, financed LGBT movement. Everything satisfied him. He didn't need anything. He walked without any conservative values. So to speak, he was in step with the times. Almost a progressive, if not a leftist to him. Only one thing was needed for the president. The country was a normal person with a healthy, meaning whose values are at the center. In the center, so to speak. Country's well. And this year, it was already completely. It was another person. Such a militant supporter of the ultra-right. Traditional views. Values well, and played, as you know, a major role in the election. Trump, in this role, was emphasized by the mask himself. Trump, in one of his first speeches on the occasion of the election victory, he said to Trump, and excuse me, a dress mask, a star is born. Elon, he is a super genius we must protect. We don't have many of our geniuses. Say that tram who loves. Ascribe to appropriate to oneself everything. Victories, have they got anything to do with him? Or, no, he has such a weakness, that is. Such words addressed to someone else and not myself. This is, in my opinion, the only case in Trump's life, and this is evidence that what is real Musk played a role, but Musk was and remains only important, but not the most significant. The most influential force of those that really brought Trump to power, which is now standing behind, happened. Shift of part of Flint or Silicon Valleys. Political change, mask or change it. Lika is a stormy version, a broader shift among the parts. Representatives of leading representatives. Silicon Valley, which traditionally, until recently, they were leaning towards the Democrats, but now they have become. Several tycoons are far-right. The IT industry, in one way or another. Degrees supported similar. Political turn is what they call here. Surnames are called, articles are called. The company which... So they are represented in this whole matter. I recommend it to anyone who wants to know all this. To the details, just find this article in. Repair and study with pencil how. It is said in the hands, and you will know everything. Understand, but I'll skip all of this because, for the big ones, it's like they heard it that way. Forgot. In short, it means right up to a significant part of the 16th year. The magnates of this Silicon Valley, they were for the Democrats, and now the majority. Some of them are also for the Democrats. Turn made less, approximately less. 1/3 of the magnates of this industry, but they turned out to be the most combative and in their hands. Those were the tools that allowed this turn to take place and bring Trump to power, by the way. The question is, how did it happen like this? This article will make it clear how this is. It turned out like this for many. Powerful, as they say, magnates. Silicon Valley in the 16th year. Trump's election became moral. Shocked and former donors to the Democrats, such as an investor is called here, for example. David Sachs, then Mark Anderson, Ben Horowitz, twins, Tyler Cameron. Ulkvos, they are all fast, reoriented already in the 16th year, and they joined Peter Tilbury, an important figure. I'll tell you more about him later. To the founder of PayPal and Palantir, technologies that have become extremely rich thanks to his investments in Facebook, till first of them of these. The tycoons supported Trump and now is at the center of this new political movement. Remember the number. One of them is not a mask, it is a till. Who is this? Till, is he an immigrant anyway? Level with German. Ethnic lived in for some time. South Africa, as well as mask, but they are different. People of Musk is considered a person, well, to put mildly, reckless, ready, and able to put billions in general. Your own business on zero or panel. Disappeared. And fate was always in the end inclined for him when he has it in his pocket. Metaphorically speaking, the last one remained. Dollar then, till is another person. This is very a calculating, meticulous person who is used to think about your position, your decisions, and painstakingly, not cavalry-like. Master-like chess. The grandmaster of chess generally plays. Your party, this is very important, and it was precisely around him that it was formed. This is the group of magnates that, well, approximately amounts to somewhere around 20. The largest companies in Silicon Valley. There are 70 of them in total. That is, their smaller part. They were actually named technologically right, and then far right is a new, very influential center of political power in. I would like to visit this country, told after the last elections. Elections that's social economic. Basic. The founding party is categorically indigenous. Way changed well first. Since 2016, the party of regionalists, which had in its based enterprise, military-industrial complex, then oil and gas complex now. It's not so much a party anymore. The strictest how many party magician now. It has a different feed, so to speak. Economic, this is Silicon Valley. And those companies that I told you about. And it happens so unnoticed. It seems, well, for the broad masses of people, but to power, a completely different group came. Large. Business is one that produces something. In tons and barrels in. Kilograms there, and so on, and that's what produces knowledge, ideas, and the ability to influence broad. The population strata are those who work to the CIA in order to predict what there's happening in the enemy camp. Pentagon developing. Fred's operations pro versus conditional. The enemy, that is, these are people who they own or rather receive knowledge literally out of thin air by analyzing a huge amount of information volume, and then can do this with the help of artificial. Turn intelligence into correct solution, and this is what they achieved. As it is written in the article, this center, political power in the country. The last elections, although they are extremely rich, but suffice it to say that Musk, you know now, by the way, he must sell some part. Shares which now make up a total of, well, about 260 or something like that. 250 to $260 billion. So after this, sales that are about to happen, his fortune will reach approximately 340 to $360 billion. This is something that is not visible, if I am not mistaken, in American history at least. Business, but there were other famous ones there. Surnames that supported Harris. Financially, and she collected almost twice as much money as Trump collected. She was supported by Bill Gates, the founder. Microsoft endorses Lauren Powell Jobs. This widow of Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, and who is considered the richest woman in Silicon Valley, and she got it from them. $1.6 billion is also monstrous, unprecedented amount, and Trump received about 70 billion. That is 2 times less, and still not less precisely, because the group that there was a group of Tilia, let's call it that way, were tools, and the tool is this big data, which allows you to receive information from it, analyze, and make the right decision. And then there was Twitter, which specifically for this purpose I purchased it in advance for a monstrous sum there. For $40 billion. Masked, these are the 2 instruments. They allowed half as much money. Put it into action, and when the race went, the enemy had twice as many of these. Means, as it is written in the article, these 20 companies or representatives of magnates have direct access to the global. This is what the media public space is. What would I say? Regarding the huge coverage of the widest, as they say, broad layers of voters, masses of people that no one had. Here, an interesting analogy is given to compare to what it was and what this group of 20 Comey represents. I call it the Committee of 20, compared to traditional, well-known, all the names of oligarchs and magnates. Carnegie, Rockefellers, Morgans, they too participated in politics and owned by the media, but attention to the concentration of power that is now in the hands of these Silicon Tech billionaires values their access to technology and the ability to bring to life what you want. They believe all this. It's unprecedented how such a thing happened. There wasn't one now. Never then, what is the difference between those oligarchs and current cornex? The Rockefellers didn't aim for the moon. Talked about Mars, and they were not going to introduce cryptocurrencies in various forms and simple. Americans didn't wear T-shirts with them. The image of those people, that is, Rockefellers, Moss, eat corn eggs, they were not, were able to prevent the Ukrainian military operation against the Russians, or somewhere to slow down her attention is one. But the most important proposal in this text from, which raises the question, what? It turns out these are in the face of the mask of Till and the rest of those who are part of this committee. 20. What did they prevent? Ukrainian military operation against Russians. And what kind of operation is this, I think? That this is a hint at a counteroffensive by the VSU, which was supposed to start in the spring. A little late on the 23rd. Years and ended, as we know, unsuccessfully. Wasn't it here? Hands or evil will of this committee. 20, because when we're talking about the mask, we know which one started helping first. It seems like with an open soul to Ukraine. Then somehow he started visiting Moscow more often, his position changed, and he started helping from the beginning. Then Tbilisi started to interfere. Well, really in the Kremlin in Crimea, for some time he began. It really does interfere with the operations of the VSU, but it is necessary. Say that his company is Polander, played a very active role in this war. Ukraine against the aggressor on the side. I don't know how things went in Ukraine. This is a separate question that deserves deep study in any case here. This mysterious phrase, which immediately attracted my attention, that is, it turns out from Lamont's point of view, these people could have been able to prevent Ukrainian military operation against Russians, and maybe they are it. Made a reservation, that is this. It was probably by accident that I dropped this phrase. The author, and maybe specifically, these people still make up minority in Silicon Valley, but not are political warriors in that, to the extent that all other residents and the inhabitants of the Flint Valley are not warriors, are referring to the same bill. Gates' peaceful citizen is engaged. Africa helps invest everything there, his billions, and invest them practically. He had all these monstrous numbers there, these billions, but others were not so. Greedy for power, as these is noted. Lamont until the early 70s. Perhaps the utopia of the Silicon pioneers. The Valley was a world in which everything would be associated with or organized around. Internet communication worldwide. Web of borders as if. Scientific progress is crumbling for everyone. It will be a world without rules. By and large, politicians were considered by Silicon Valley people. We must keep them from being corrupt. Further away, and technology will solve everything. That's why we need to develop and hold on. Away from the East Coast, that's it. Where's Washington located and all? State bureaucracy, or bureaucracy, they were pioneers. Internet and its technologies for maximum freedom of the individual. Limited role. Governments, and they in the end. Internet computer technologies will make all political differences obsolete and unnecessary, and so it was until about 2000s. That is, they were libertarian apostles. So to speak, individual freedom at any cost, but that was before the advent. New types of startups like Uber, let's say, or Airbnb, and change herself. That industry and politicians could no longer somehow get around them without your own, without its own rules, without imposing. Some so as not to undertake some attempts to regulate and limit this activity because it becomes, well, literally, that is to say, covers life activities of people around the world, practically unlimited, and naturally causes the bureaucrats itch. The official to impose his own on all this. That is, the situation arose when the state became intervened by introducing new rules, regulating rules of emerging technologies, giants, and in protest or resistance these technologies, Silicon Valley giants have begun lobby against or something like that, to restrain or defend one's interests in political circles in the government, as much as means as political participation of technology. Sectors became important and decisive. Public demand has arrived. Government regulation of technology. But it was clearly evident in the end. Activities of the Biden administration, who tried to limit large or dominance of big tech companies, that is, he fought with monopolies of the United States have always fought traditionally. Because it's a monopoly, something bad is considered as something bad. As Lenin wrote in his time, monopoly is something decaying, losing its effectiveness and dying. It is precisely monopoly that will destroy capitalism. Lenin wrote at the time, and not only him. Lenin came to this idea because the Americans really smashed it up in their time. All these monopolies, including Rockford, who would. I would have thought that Standard Oil would have taken it. They covered it up instead, and there's a lot of it there. He became the richest of all kinds of companies. A man because he received shares for all of these companies, not all by myself, but a significant part, but it lost influence as king and god in economic life. Countries and Biden began to limit such companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, that is pillars, Silicon Valley, and he pushed a significant portion of the representatives of these companies to counteract the administration of its attempts all to regulate. And so we came to situations when there is bureaucracy, that is, the Biden administration was then the main enemy of at least one of three representatives of Silicon Valley, and we approached the situation of a known situation, which says you cannot be interested in politics, but politics, sooner or later, will be interested in you. And these are the pillars. Representatives of the 20 approximate companies felt that something was needed. And the most important thing is, okay, there are different ones. Regulatory plans were introduced there, but the last thing, so to speak, was what pushed me. Representatives of Silicon Valley to quit means to accept. Cast your lot and decide what you need. Something had to be done, it was. Crypto industry. Biden was against it. Tried her. Regulate or limit this too. Caused a lot of discontent. Pillars of Flint Valley because they believe that this threatened the future. The future of our business, the future, allows technology and the future of America. China has grown forward. And here on the crest, on the wave, cryptocurrencies, it was decided that representatives of these 20, the largest companies in Silicon Valley, they will support Trump because, for Trump, it also became more true for them. This became the most emotional question. That is, this is that straw that almost broke this guy's spine. Camel. But this is not accidental because at 20, in the fourth year during the election, campaigns for the cryptocurrency industry, I had to pay almost half of the money paid. Corporations and primarily Silicon Valley Political Action Committee. This is the so-called PAC that already known time play a key role in organizing election campaigns, any level, at any level there, presidential level senators, congressmen, and so on. That is, this political action committees are the election campaign machine in general, and each election campaign, specific participation of this company from the president until the last one. Congressman well, and as soon as Trump, he demanded $1 billion he demanded from the oil and gas industry in exchange for a favorable economic energy policy, and he returned to. He immediately turned his power around 180 degrees. Position if he was against it before. Bitcoin, then now, he said that I am for. Bitcoin, why I am for Bitcoin, because for Bitcoin, my friend Musk, who is so, did a lot for my election. Here you go. And the same thing applied. Electric cars, I said for electric cars. Mask because I have to be for because that Elon supported me very much well. And finally, artificial intelligence. is the same. The story itself is roughly the same as cryptocurrency. And Trump, who was brought in by the committee, 20 put after that said, let's cancel Joe's dangerous executive order. Biden, who hinders innovation in the field of artificial intelligence. Republicans support now him, and he will now work for human prosperity. So here, the ideology that now defines Silicon Valley technology. Progress must develop relentlessly. And you don't have to worry too much about it. Potential costs and attention, dangers to society that may arise in connection with this. Technological progress, including artificial intelligence, God bless it. This progress will solve all the dangers itself. As for yourself, as you remember in the Soviet Union, when it collapsed, or rather it was already in Russia, and in other republics in the new ones. There was such a thing in independent states. The illusion in the early 90s that economic reform market economy, she will solve all the problems, and you remember what was going on then and what was going on in particular in Russia when the government. Gaidar was expecting when market reforms will solve all the problems and so on. Let's sum up the interim results from this. What I said, so that we don't forget the main thing, the premise of the merger. It giants with. It became conservatives, Republicans, the desire of those technologies to get rid of regulation by the state. The impetus for this case was a problem, cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence. The main idea of the ideologists of this direction in Silicon Valley thought became progress. First of all, even if he brings certain dangers to society and a confrontation between IT specialists or giants of Flint, valleys which we will call technological. Progressives against the state, bureaucrats, and so-called STVKT, and in the center of it was Till. Till representative means immigration as. I already told you that this is the one he is considered. A thinker, well, almost like Gidge and Verabach, in one bottle of Kremlin Flint. In the valley, he spoke in this way. Bureaucracy is the main enemy of Silicon Valley. People think that the government, it is ineffective, that it imposes a bunch of idiotic rules that are spent on time and talent and what the government. It should be run like a business, you know. The state has outlived its usefulness, transformed into this bureaucratic monster that lives and feeds itself and lives for itself, forgetting about what needs to be developed first. Total technological progress is why it is necessary. Remove, well, almost like the Bolsheviks. The whole world we will destroy violence, and then we will build a new world there too here. It says how and what we will do. Build. The government must be run as business, that is, as a corporation like Apple. How Microsoft, how company Polantir you? Tilia or what? SpaceX you mass, so it was. Desire to deregulate, simplify, management, even simplify a whole bunch. Government agencies that were born during the new course yet. Roosevelt and it all echoed. Trump's anti-system rhetoric idea, which consisted in the fact that it was necessary to drain, swamp, that is to destroy deep states, and this is how the union of two forces arose. On the one hand, these are the IT guys, valleys with their idea to get rid of government regulation. On the other sides of the Trump, which became an anti-system person because of grievances and other complexes, well, you know it, offended this deep. He drank, and he decided to take revenge on him by destruction of this, and here they found it. Each other then, a very important thought. Technology, law feel that. The liberal left doesn't understand them. Well, that's it. There are Democrats. Let's count them that way. Right technologists believe that financial resources should not be spent to reduce the inequality of attention of those who voted for Trump in the past elections and who thought that under Trump, their income, wages, and taxes will increase. So the technological ones will decrease. The right believes that financial resources, we need to spend it not on raising it, not on tax cuts for the people, and not for raising their salaries. Money should be directed to technology funding. process, and here is my comment on this. I feel like this is coming soon. A nuance that no one knew about. Promise something else, describe this theory in general. Platform, completely different people, Trump even. Maybe he didn't even know about her. Existence. So soon, this nuance will become an unpleasant surprise for millions. Americans who voted for Trump in the hope that their taxes will be reduced and will increase salaries because the people who brought Trump to power, they don't care about income, wide folk mansions, and on reduction. Inequality in America is not theirs either. I'm worried that they are on the verge here. Junction. Racism, what are people, groups of people who are prone to progress and should, to be elite, and others who are more, adapt and live better in. That's why they write about slavery conditions. They should be there. To be so sad. Reality now means they. These technological rights relate to state public administration, as to a computer program, which can be hack it into something there. Tweak, hack. In short, is it possible to improve it? Well, we have to try to do it. Improve, and everything is a computer. Program, therefore. Trump's slogan, Make America Again. Great, it came at a time. So because firstly the style is like in. Trump thinks that Trump is no longer. Is it a great pity that the USA is bigger? Is not great. He decided to become a country because he didn't. Believes in democracy, he does not believe, did not convince, that the democratic process itself. He is capable of solving such problems for himself. I decided not to interfere in these elections myself, but he didn't have to do it because he was already in the center of a whole intellectual movement. National conservatives who started. Unite to try again. Define the intellectual line. Republican Party to stick to a new electoral base. Trump, in short, they figure out how. Need to hack and improve, or what? Tweak this program. Public administration and electoral process under there. Needs were brought. Trump to power and what is needed for this. To do what ideas, where, to whom to promote. And they did all this because that's why. Trump said that was what they told him. They wrote, but it didn't correspond to that. What interests do they actually have? Imagine what they actually had. Business in the head. And with the main ideologist again. I emphasize, it wasn't even a mask, till because, which has been opening every year since 2019. NetCon, that is, as I understand it, national. Convention is a conference on national. Conservatism, which is intended to give intellectual weapons of Trumpism, and since then, since the 19th year, he has become. Trump's ideologist is no one, and he, by the way, it is considered the biggest money. He made his first as a co-founder of PayPal, which is probably used, but if not, all that huge number of people. He wrote to the whole world as an intellectual. Many essays, including the myth of diversity, diversity, is not. Must have read Alexander's book. Solzhenitsyn, Archipelago, Gulag, and together with Lord of the Rings, Tolkien, these two books, they showed him how much the political power is corrupt. Till said, we see that the ability states to achieve great ideas decreases with its decrease. Efficiency, that's why I'm interested. An idea of how we can avoid. Politicians, that is, the state can do without a state at all for this purpose. And Trump should have been and was elected as destroyers, so-called about he will probably try to do it. So the point is that change the form of government of the country to board similar management of a corporation. That is, we are actually talking about a change. Political regime, if you want, that is. It's almost a revolution, or if you like, coup d'etat. Well, it really does change. The form of the political regime changes. The form of government changes, but it's almost change of face, so to speak. Political state, by the way, Marx and Lenin also wrote about the fall, the efficiency of capitalism, and talked about. That is why it is necessary. Replace with capitalism, communism, which is the first phrase, which is socialism. Well, that's what. It worked out. They tried to do it. The Bolsheviks then pulled more. A number of countries have spent time on this matter. Almost the entire 20th century, now the second. Entry, but not from the Bolsheviks, but from. There are 20 Mensheviks against 70. Silicon Valley Mensheviks from. Silicon Valley, in another SE, wrote, rejects the electoral process as a means of reforming society, that is, change of government, that is, president change of government, which, until now they worked, he denies it, because people are broadly normal, to the masses who in their mass, uneducated to decide. They can't be trusted with difficult questions. This is what he sees as an important decision. The problem of democracy and electoral systems, I don't believe, more than freedom and democracy. Compatible wrote, and how to find a way out of politics in all its manifestations. Invest in a new personal space, freedoms that the government cannot. They are not yet available to intervene. The government, and then he had an idea. He called it, by the way. Cyberspace is the state there for now, tries to regulate somehow, but not really. Then space intervenes with its Mars. Remember, yes, colonization, Marx mask, and finally the ocean, but since space was already in ideas busy with mask till took up. Sending is a project about that. Consists in the fact that in the vastness of the ocean, ocean communities, well, that is like maybe some islands, can be either natural or both, to organize some settlements, which will govern themselves, or, same, artificial islands that China. Now from the South China Sea, it is washing up. The Emirates say they are actively working on this. In this direction, I took up this idea. How he perceives society, technology that can be hacked and update. As the article goes on to say, Lamont criticism of American style. The government of the state has turned into an almost nihilistic determination. Destroy. It's just like the Bolsheviks before. 17th year. Yes, destroy American. Government, American state. But I think that with such ideas he would. I wouldn't have lived long in freedom if it hadn't been for that. If he were in Putin's regime. So in Putin's country, it would be. Rolled it back to where he was sitting. Navalny, and probably with the same. The same outcome. That is, again, we are talking about. Almost about the revolution, about the state. Coup or anarchism, which means it happens as a result of a coup d'etat, in order to destroy the state altogether and go to self-government, then one of his pearls. Democracy is ineffective, a destructive system of government, and it so corrupt and stagnant that a monarchical one must come to replace it, mode controlled as start. Here's your answer. What's next is monarchical. But thank God it's not. Everything there in the end, he came out what? The monarch can be replaced by a general, director, or general manager. System, but it doesn't have to be. Come in the election process, that is this. Maybe it's even called something like president, but he will be completely different. Come to power, therefore report. Otherwise, he will be in front of the wrong people. In front of voters, in front of others, and will perform other functions. The whole meaning of this whole childhood. Destroy this rotten. The bureaucratic deep state consists of that to ensure rigidity. Reboot of society or state. Bureaucracy must give way to the national director general here. Either call him emperor or consul or whatever you want. One thing is certain, it will be the one. They call him a dictator because, well, how? CEO in any corporation. He will not rely on public. In his opinion, he will make a decision like this, as he thinks it should be, as he demands. Technological process in this. Corporations. And genetically, it means we have reached the point. Genetics, what does this mean? What? Some groups of the country's population are more adapted to dominate in this society than is slavery, therefore they will. Gentlemen, they will be the elite at that time. How others are more adapted to slavery. And so, let them be there. Remain, this is generally another bitter me. I would say hello to the broad masses of the people, voters who voted on elections for Trump in the hope that the country's income will rise the most, will turn into a paradise for them. Tulips and dandelions will bloom all around, and life will be wonderful, amazing then. Yes, they fly by two parameters. Where they, that is, here turns out, you will be for the rest of your life and the children. Yours will be rednecks, and don't even think about it. If you have a good education, do you have a talent for IT technologies? You will be in the top class. If not, you are like that. Well, I use the word here in me, in a metaphysical sense, as a metaphor. But this is another obvious hint at that. What are the hopes of poor Americans? Poor Americans to improve their financial situation under Trump will fail well, now you understand. Where does this talk about that come from? There will be no more elections after these. United States of America, this is what it's about. Trump said what Vince repeated to them. Now we don't need a president who, elected by universal law, need general manager, please name. It's either a consul or something. Dictator, either Duce or Pharaoh like this. So we have now come to the same thing. Who is the main one there? That is, we have determined what? On the corporate side of this, alliance between sharks or silicone monsters, Valley and the private party there in the center, is located till, although here are a couple of words I wanted. I would like to say about the mask how it will be like this. In purely practical terms, how will it be? Influence the foreign policy of the United States. States, let's say, everyone is racking their brains right now. There's supposedly hawks come to power, or Trump wants to appoint them there in particular. Hexet, which supposedly, well, yes, still, is trying to make a minister of defense. But something is wrong. It turns out that way about this. Said the mask, he said, he has. There's Tesla, he needs tax cuts. And he's already there, like about everything, and agreed, and he says, I'm generally talking about Chinese. Musk said recently, when they were discussing what to do with China, there are some who threaten themselves. Trump said, let's go to them first. 50% tax. Then another 10, that is, 60% of Namaz, said, so I'm generally talking about Chinese. Why do we need all this? Give us. There's before, remember, they said, everything that. Good for General Motors, good for America now gets everything that is good. For Tesla and SpaceX, this is now good. For America, and because it is being built here, the state is autocratic. The idea is that it is always easier for them to come to an agreement with another CEO, another corporations in another country, such as Comrade SI. So we wait, I feel. What is the administration's foreign policy? Trump has many surprises in store for us. Well, now it doesn't follow from this. Articles from some other Trumps in general. This is an intermediate figure. They picked him up, and they made him president because, well, the base had already been developed. It arose. It just so happened spontaneously that millions, people in America, voters, turn out to be so naive that everything Trump said, they took it for granted. Coinwell, they already had one like that. Vera. So we decided, well, let's go. We'll launch it like a train, but the main thing, who did they want to bring to power? Wait, Vince is the person who got in the field of view of the Tilia as soon as he graduated from the Yelsk University. Picked up then, they say he appointed him manager or general director. One investment company later transferred it to another investment. The company that his friend had already created, and eyewitnesses who worked in these say, companies that he did not bother himself, I have, in view of the regular appearance on. At work, his jacket was mostly hanging there, but he got his first 20 million from this case. Earned then, after that it means, they are already launching into politics like he did. If it were written here, to would have made it He spent the minimum time as a senator there. He didn't even serve his sentence, and then he are being transferred to a new job, Vice President of the United States. America, as a result, as Lamont writes, Vince is essentially located at the very heart. It's political restructuring which is happening in the States now, if with Shark Side's Silicon Share in the center, is located somewhere in the political sphere, say in this alliance segment. Where is it located? Creation like Dad Dwarf and Pinocchio. So here Pinocchio is. We can therefore assume that in connection with this, that Trump, well, first of all, there won't be much stress. Public administration enlarge. The president's share of the burden will be perform Vance and be the most active too. Unfortunately, he already took this. Ukraine will probably be the niche, but Trump will play golf and it will be his. The last presidential term, so to speak. Further, he will be sent to the honorary. Means the pension for general directors is unknown. For what period, but that's what is planned judging by. All on the basis of all these. Ideologists, ideologies should and can become. And as for an indefinite future, that is. The face of the new, right, is even more. Radical direction in terms of nationalism, anti-immigration policy, and opposition to the American. Interventionism, that is all. Ideological revolution, what does it have to do with it? Muti darkness, because part of it is because this is for the people who are like in. Russian propaganda tells people, yes, what for? Piplack, all conservative value. This is a family. Well, look at that one, by the way, which he is now trying to push through. This very minister of defense, well, what? Family, are you kidding? What kind of family is there? What kind of family is there? Conservative values, yes, what for? Walk. Trump, how much? Is there 3 or 4 days 3? Wives still, some amount of storm. Daniels, and so on. Well, they're everyone there. Naughty boy, God forbid, what LGBT, what kind of? For the people, LGBT is a taboo. Transgenders, and among them, there is all this. It's thriving, and I don't even know for nothing. Musk at the beginning of his business career all supported it, and some did not. Therefore, they stopped supporting the people. Throw a bone, that people means people. Will gnaw with pleasure, growling furiously. And they are a completely different matter, therefore. This whole immigration policy, nationalism, is so you understand they will be. Make those decisions that are currently moment traditional solutions which are beneficial and necessary at the present time for their corporations, for their money, for their power. In 2 hours, the situation will change. They will be taken completely differently. Decisions, but about this in particular here, is stated in the 2025 project, which the corporation wrote for them about. I told them about the Heritage Foundation. All these values are about what they want. What do? They include the cleaning project, approximately 10,000 government officials. Loyal, that is the most important idea. The committee will manage everything. The committee will manage everything. 20 are experts appointed by them. It will all go down and below. Even ministerial positions there will be. Sit obedient, loyal, absolutely. Loyal to which means which. They will put all this into practice here. It is precisely this consideration that probably explains the specificity of those people who I've just picked up a Trump for my team. Well, and in the meanwhile, time after the election of Trump after that, how Trump assessed the efforts of Mask is Lamont. Writes, Mask thanked by appointment for the position of head of department. Government efficiency, where is it? Anticipates a reduction in federal budget of $2 trillion, that is. Forget about social. Programs, as said before, this is not. Is part of the rational plan. Corporate. Management in America appeared, yes, that is, appointed Mask to this position. The most national appeared in America. The CEO you dreamed of. Technological law, well, here it is now. Let's quickly go through the points as I told you. Explain so America, in America, came to. Authorities Committee, I call it, that conditionally, by the number of corporations that are on. Which the Repair Committee specifies, from the 20s to the 20s. Cream Silicon Valley was for Democrats. Then new huge ones appeared, global technology companies, which the government tried to strangle. Well, not to strangle, but to rein in with all sorts of things. With new decrees and rules of conduct, they were outraged and brought it as. The tool brought Trump to power here. Who made Trump? How is all this? It happened for this too, were needed. Companies, or two groups of companies, well. First of all, it means this. Big data companies, by the way, are the same. till companies they have colossal government contracts, and he has access to top secret information. These companies work for foreign intelligence of the United States of America for obtaining valuable, important intelligence. Information by analyzing open. A large amount of open information. Information they work for the Pentagon. Their effectiveness has already been determined. And they mean they get information and then analyze what to do with it in order to do that. To do 1, 2, 2, 3. Some goals if you set among these. One goal, how to win these elections then. This company will show its product, will show what needs to be done, what points need to be made. Then Twitter will do it and finish it. It turns out that everything you need is here. Blogger Josh Rogan, who gave shortly before the election, I interviewed Trump from him. The audience is somewhere around 13 million people in his. He's a blogger on YouTube, so that's it. After the elections, he spoke with. He was amazed in that company of Trump. During that night, when it was going on, voting observed everything from the inside, and he said that there was a mask running around there and constantly looked at my smartphone, and so it turned out that I commented on which ones. Where do the numbers appear, and does he have these numbers? Results appeared 4 hours earlier than the official date and then about them. They officially announced, and he did it too. The conclusion is that once it is there before, it turns out that he recognizes this data and then knows what data is for 4 hours. You can influence them to change them and so on. But it turned out they said later. So some analyst at these, well, some kind of person gave him the data. The program that did it. Modeling or prediction is this. It's not precise, it's analytical again. Programs, well, what's the difference analytical? They turned out. Adequate, that is like this. It turned out that it was possible to win the election by having two companies in their determination. To achieve this goal, the state means their ideology, main ideas. The main thing is technological progress. It will solve everything. We need to develop it with all the money. There is no need to fight immorality there. It's all nonsense. All negative processes will automatically solve this technological problem. Progress state bureaucracy. Ineffective kills progress with this. From a point of view, China is better than America. It's democracy because there is no such thing in China. There is no such democracy, and there is no such democracy. Bureaucracy in theory, as they think. That's why China is better for development. Technological process. Public administration is needed. Replaced with corporate governance in. The head of state must stand. The general director of which can be called monarch, consul, duce, Führer, how. There is a specific example here. Nationalism, racism in their ideology. Because it says that some people are well adapted to. Technological progress, therefore worthy of being managers, and others are better suited to slavery. That's why they should be there and not. You need to get out of there, that is redneck. I must remain a redneck. Conditional. Redneck. So it follows that a significant portion of people voted. Trump will be very upset on 2 counts. The positions of the first regarding the fact that their well-being will improve significantly. Unlikely. There will be, but on the other hand, they are unlikely. Will be moved to a more privileged position. Stratum of society. That is it. Actually an aspiration or plans or idea. Destroy the so-called state or democratic form of government is révolution et sa coup d'état, which may end or it means anarchism or a monarch like this. The CEO came up with the idea that progress can do everything automatically. To solve this is another utopia. This is not. That's why this whole theory is. Such a theory that is so earth-shattering is doomed. How to ensure human progress? Like all the previous ones, sooner or later the utopianism of this theory is doomed to failure. It is already shown and obvious. Here is what. Look at those appointed to. Key positions related to state security. See, they don't need them. They don't have any ideas. Do they comply with conservative ideas of personal life or not? 10. Question from the point of view. Efficiency is the same as, like how I told you last time, like, histocracy is the rule of the worst. That is, it was impossible to find worse for those positions they currently hold. Hanging, I mean the Minister of Defense, FBI Director, National Director, Intelligence. But this is generally a nightmare of garbage. Some kind of lifted ES from the groundware. Here is the power of the best, whereas corporate. The management is a complete failure, as I tell you. He said to appoint them. This means complete. A failure from a national point of view. Security, after which, has already happened. It's just recently in life. There were 91 countries. There was a war in Iraq, which shouldn't have been because there was no reason for this, but it was. Everything is a result, so to speak, well so. Little by little, they were strangled by both the FBI and intelligence community under Clinton and now. They are collected under the root that is here, an obvious contradiction, and if such people are recruited on foreign policy, then in this way, make the United States completely open to external attacks. Then where is the guarantee that they will have everything normal inside the country in the center? The political part of this committee, 20, is a Venus for this, raised him for this. Prepared from here, it follows that Trump, this is an intermediate figure, but he can become a dictator. No. God forbid, I don't even want to talk. As far as I think this is what it's supposed to be. Everything should glitch. I hope it's enough. Quickly, that is. Nance could this idea become dictator for a long time in general. The director can be Musk or Keel or some combination of them is acceptable. Ramaswamy plus Musk, but they already. We had a falling out, and this Hindu started it. Ramaswamy, who said that Musk gas. Church monkey jumps in front of SI too. He lowered taxes on Tesla. That's what they did. We haven't started working together yet, but I will. There will, in general, it won't seem like too little or too little. Till Keel is the ideologist. This is the most. The main person is very careful, calculating as opposed to reckless. Mask all the values that they proclaimed for the people, family, personal, freedom, and so on. All this is for the people, in fact. In fact, this is complete nonsense. The main thing is management efficiency for progress. From this point of view, this system can. It is dangerous to approach fascism from another side. The parties under this system have the opportunity. Trump to do absolutely crazy things. Actions will still be limited to. Fortunately, for everyone, because he will be in charge, he will be in. Mainly play golf will manage. Committee of 20 or its representatives, which will not allow extreme ones. For the sake of extreme developments, the whims of one person, that is, his ability to not, limited by nothing together with it so, called the offender, and further because targeted SI centralized. The control system is considered the most effective ideologists of this idea. A natural partner for such America. There will be autocritical modes such as North Korea, China, Russia, Iran, so what? I told you Musk has already stated that the Chinese said that there is no particular need there. Press on China, by the way, after. He said Trump announced that he introduces 50% tariffs against the closest allies common market. United States of America, Canada, and Mexico. Did he do it? This is in addition to China's tariffs against China, or instead of China, and China, well, how? Musk said it's a good country with them. We need to negotiate. That is, when I read all this, and it reminded me of a couple of movies. I don't remember about James Bond as they do, are called, and there are at least 2 of them there. I vaguely remember a movie in which the main evil of mankind was there, a group of terrible villains of the world. There are 10 to 12 people in the world of humanity, which are occupied from time to time, gathered at a round table and accepted. Global decisions, all led number. Number 1, so was number 2 number. 3, 4, and from time to time, if the number. He didn't like the first report, let's say. Number 6, he pressed the button that collapsed. That is, there was a committee there. I think 12, but we have a committee. 20 will see what all this is about. This will end, dear friends. Let me finish this video, I hope. That it would not be particularly important to you, tiring, but I think I'm with. I spent a lot of time on it with pleasure. Mastering this material is not only this. I would say in the article, there is still a lot more. Articles on this subject. There is, having understood what I have laid out for you here, you will understand the picture of the world as a whole, so to speak. Let me finish this video here. As always, glory to Ukraine and the armed forces. The enemy forces must be defeated. Victory should be behind us, you dear friends. Endurance, courage, firm faith in our inevitable victory, because we are with you on the side of the forces of good and light.